Almost any story is almost certainly some kind of lie. But not this time. No, this is a promise. During the next hour, everything you'll hear from us is really true and based on solid facts.
In our video critique, we are assessing the concept of fake news, how it appears in mainstream media and cinema, and how it differs from actual news. Ultimately, we would like to argue that its controversial nature, propensity to spread rapidly, and its emotionally charged rhetoric have real-world implications on society. News itself is rooted in truth-telling. However, there has been a rise of what is called fake news, or information which is presented as real but is patently false, fabricated, or exaggerated. Fake news journalists employ deceptive journalistic practices such as lack of verification.
Watch how often TV news ends up citing print sources.
According to the Chicago Tribune.
According to the Detroit Free Press.
According to the San Francisco Chronicle.
Writing misleading headlines, as well as using hedging language and attribution formulations with words like reportedly and claims. Above all, fake news reports content which is extremely controversial in addition to being untrue. However, mainstream news reflects a similar desire to captivate its audience with potentially gruesome images and stories. The 2014 film Nightcrawler demonstrates how a local television news producer hopes to captivate her audience.
To capture the spirit of what we air is think of our newscast as a screaming woman running down the street with her throat cut.
I understand.
Director Dan Gilroy demonstrates Rousseau's determination and disregard for the disturbing nature of the image she has just created. This scene echoes the practices of fake news journalists who are more concerned with providing shocking news stories rather than providing their audiences with the most true and complete picture of the events. This kind of sensationalist, fake news-like reporting in Nightcrawler directly contrasts the in-depth reporting and investigation that is depicted in 2015's Best Picture winner, Spotlight.
Hi there. I'm looking for Ronald Paquin.
Yes?
Your father, Paquin?
Yes, that's right.
I'm Sasha Pfeiffer from the Boston Globe.
Okay.
Could I ask you a few questions?
The close-up on Rachel McAdams draws attention to her notepad, a symbol which represents her desire to record accurate information as opposed to merely memorizing what her subject is telling her. Additionally, her intense expression demonstrates how seriously she regards her subject matter and suggests she intends to provide her boss with a compelling yet true story. As a result, director Tom McCarthy paints a picture of successful journalism, suggesting that while a gripping headline might initially grab the audience's attention, the journalist's attention to detail and approaching the subject with a sense of urgency result in a credible and legitimate news story. Fake news was used throughout the 2016 presidential election. In fact, 20 top-performing false election stories generated nearly 9 million shares, reactions, and comments on Facebook. These statistics demonstrate fake news' propensity to spread rapidly due to its controversial content. One of the most controversial stories came out about a pizzeria in Washington, D.C., which was harboring children as sex slaves as a part of a child abuse ring by Hillary Clinton. According to the New York Times, Edgar M. Welch read this online story and proceeded to drive to that same pizzeria with a gun. This highlights the ability of fake news to drive people to take action in the real world, and thus how fake news has real-world implications. In response to the spread of purportedly fake news stories mentioning Donald Trump, the presidential candidate himself expressed extreme disdain towards television news station CNN.
I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
In response to President Trump's aggressive attack on their legitimacy, CNN came out with a news segment putting to bed all of Trump's accusations that they are an illegitimate news station.
And that's not what we do. We are in the business of sussing out what is true and what is false.
CNN's insistence on their credibility incited a response from conservative news station Fox.
The abusively biased mainstream media, they continue to prove they're fundamentally incapable of covering President-elect Donald Trump fairly.
Thus, the fake news surrounding the election had the effect of polarizing influential news stations. This not only shifted the focus away from the actual policies of the candidates, but only further polarized the candidates' constituents as well. The verdict still remains unclear as to whether fake news is an entirely negative force or if it may have some positive implications as well. A group called the Yes Men are channeling this energy to promote a dialogue surrounding social justice movements. This provides hope that despite the polarizing and harmful effects of fake news, journalists have found a way to use its erroneous qualities to bring about a social good.
The idea was to put out something that was optimistic, that says we can do all these things. Why not? We created the system that we have now, so why not create a good one instead?
Here comes the sun.